Yo, welcome back to Calliope Music Reviews. My name is Colin, and this is Canon, aka the Greasy Canon. Jeez, I'm greasy today, but
Anyways,
today we have a bit of a polarizing release with the Chilean art rock six-piece Hesse Kassel, I think it's how you pronounce it, and their debut album, La Brea. Hesse Kassel is another fascinating installment into the ever-expanding and wide-reaching Chilean rock scene, home to many up-and-coming groups like Asia Minor, Candelabro, Niños del Cerro, and two bands I covered earlier this year, Cochlea and Canuta. Hesse Kassel hails from the Santiago region, differentiating themselves from the others with a particularly heavy prog rock sound mixed with all sorts of noisy punk, art, and jazz accents. This album, La Brea, has a formidable post-rock sound, expansive in its highly anxious and shivering timbers, and monumental in its heavy avant-garde delineations. Abrasive guitar meets growling bass and colossal percussion, delivering some grunging and quite searing movements. Combinations of clean guitar, wailing saxophone, and chamber keys add a windmill flavor extremely reminiscent of the UK band Black Country New Road. In fact, I genuinely thought I was listening to a cover of track X by BCNR for a second at the beginning of the fourth track, En Tiempo Muerto. That's how similar these two records can sound at times. However, La Brea does have a bit of a heavier sound overall, taking great inspiration from other influences like Slint's Spiderland and Swan's To Be Kind, through teeming build-ups and massive stop and start explosions of distorted guitar and burly percussion. Probably the most impressive aspect of this album is its skillful execution and conviction through lengthy tracks. Every musician here is in sync, allowing each instrument to have its own crystalline spotlight as the band navigates quite complex progressions. The bass player and the drummer are especially excellent in their perfectly matched cadences, expertly weaving the group through monstrous breakdowns and more tempered, almost hypnotic rhythm sections. These, these sections are really where the group breaks past their influences and forms a sound of their own through gargantuan avant-prog soundscapes, playing with various distortions and noises to carry weight through these constantly evolving drum patterns and rhythmic arrangements. It can be a truly devastating sound, especially when the singer just starts screaming in agony like the last full minute of the finale. Now, I must say that the band's comparisons to Black Country New Road, they don't just stop on a musical level, they also exist with the lyrics. The lyrical style is very reminiscent of BCNR's former singer Isaac Wood. The talk tone vocals and stringy uproars are almost identical despite the language difference, with Wood being English and this album being in Spanish. However, singer Renato Alvarez is less subtle in his timbres, embracing anxious and dramatic vocal crescendos and shrill climactic screams like I mentioned on that last track. But I think the band is even self-aware of these comparisons to BCNR, because on the fourth track, now I could be mistaken through translation, but it seems like Alvarez directly addresses similarities to BCNR's Ants from Up There, saying, "But I'm the best reference in life, the latest imitation. Life isn't lived based on 10 songs only about airplanes, aka Ants from Up There. It would be a mistake to even try that. And it's not like I have answers. Oh yes, I'm just killing time." So yeah, if that verse doesn't tell you that the influences here are intentional, then I don't know what does. But moving on to the actual central message of this album, well, it's difficult to say what that is exactly. Even with translations, it's hard to get a grasp on what Olivares is talking about here. The imagery is all over the place, and I think a lot of the pop culture references and metaphors do get lost in translation. But I do think that the title of the album, La Brea, speaks a lot to the themes explored throughout the album. The title translates to the tar pit, a pit which I think represents the draining and immobilizing nature of an anxious, dark, and devastating depression. Most of the tracks are rather anecdotal in their narratives, giving a youthful and kind of apocalyptic perspective on modern issues like twisted gender roles, situationships, and social media addiction. The third song, for example, Americana, even seems to be about being used in a transactional relationship, thrown out after the partner is done with the narrator sexually and emotionally. These motifs persist throughout the 78-minute runtime, creating an oracular view of modern disassociation and the pitfalls of a young person's mental health. Albeit pretty melodramatic and over the top at times, this idea is well communicated and supported by the subtle and angry moments alike of the instrumentation, despite lyrics that are difficult to grasp at first. So moving on to my final thoughts on this debut, I gotta say it's an imposing and pretty impressive experience. Now, the record's clear and shameless use of influence does hurt the experience a little, especially if you're familiar with Black Country New Road. But it isn't solely a bad thing. There's a nuance to inspiration, influence, and what some people may consider stealing. While I wish Hesse Kassel did a little more to make themselves distinct as songwriters, it's obvious why they take so much from their influences. It's because it sounds good and it's a style that works well with the emotional source and message of this record. So, with that out of the way, I think that this record has a lot of appeal through its skillful impetus and monstrous tonality. Therefore, I'm feeling a strong 7.5 out of 10 for Hesse Kassel's La Brea. My favorite tracks are the first track, Post Parto, the fifth song, Musa, and the grand finale, Yo La Tengo. And alright, that will do it for the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this quick review on this debut album. It's pretty interesting stuff. Go give it a listen if you haven't. I highly encourage you to form your own opinion and listen to the record on your own, and let me know what that opinion is in the comments, of course. Also, feel free to suggest any other albums or artists, maybe some music scenes that I haven't checked out on this channel yet that you would like me to check out. Put that in the comments as well. But with that, this has been Hesse Kassel, the music canon, and I'll see you in the next one.